Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I know you're a keen historian, so I looked up the last time a Prime Minister missed 2 sessions in a row with other engagements, which was March 1996. And I'm very proud to be filling the boots of Lord John Prescott. But I think it's safe to say he's no Heseltine, Mr. Speaker. Why is it, John Prescott asked, that in Tory Britain, tens of thousands of families are facing repossession, negative equity and homelessness? And can he tell us, 27 years later, why I'm having to ask the same question?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, clearly the Right Honourable Lady did not listen to my previous comments. The Prime Minister is at NATO. Of course, that wouldn't be a problem if she'd had her way. Her old boss wanted to abandon Ukraine, abolish the army and withdraw from NATO, and he certainly wouldn't be going to any summit, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I think he's taking lessons from the former Prime Minister on telling the facts. The last Labour government worked hard to dramatically reduce the number of children in temporary accommodation. But under the Tories, the number of homeless children has risen by 75%. I'm proud of our record on tackling child poverty. Does the Right Honourable Gentleman feel ashamed of his?
Deputy Prime Minister.
I'll tell you what this government has done.
Mr. Speaker, it's like the ghost of Prime Minister past is still here. And I tell the Right Honourable Gentleman that he should be careful about the stats he used, because the Children's Commissioner warned the other Prime Minister about peddling false narrative on child poverty around those figures. The truth is, rising bills and soaring mortgages and plummeting real wages are pushing more and more families to the brink. Those already struggling are being hit hardest by the Tory mortgage bombshell and rising food costs. So can he tell us how many primary school children have been pushed into poverty since his government took power?
Deputy Prime Minister.
It may come as a surprise to the Right Honourable Lady, but balancing the books means more than working out how many more millions to take from her union paymasters.
Mr. Speaker, once again, he talks about balancing the books. His party crashed the economy. And he seems to be completely oblivious to what it's like for working people in this country at the moment. New research out today shows that 400,000 more primary school-aged children are growing up in poverty since his government came to office. Why does he think that is?
Deputy Prime Minister.
I would take absolutely no lectures whatsoever from the party opposite about how we help children in the most need. Listen, her leader says he hates tree huggers. They seem very keen on hugging that magic money tree.
Mr. Speaker, he doesn't even acknowledge it, let alone explain why child poverty is rising. What hope has he got of solving it? So let me try a simpler question for him. How many kids don't have a permanent address today compared to when Labour left office in 2010?
Deputy Prime Minister.
We can exchange all these numbers across the dispatch box. Mr. Speaker, these are the numbers that matter. There are 1.7 million fewer people in absolute poverty under this government.
Mr. Mr Speaker, what matters is what people feel every single day at the moment who are going to work and can't afford their mortgage, can't afford their rent and can't afford their bills because of this Conservative government. There are 55,000 more children without a permanent address today compared to when they took office 13 years ago. We've gone from a Labour cabinet focused on tackling child poverty to Tory ministers who won't even admit the problem. Just like the Question Time in March 1996, they can only offer excuses and not answers. Lord John Prescott said to Lord Michael Heseltine that day, "How can the right honourable gentleman be so complacent in the face of sheer misery created by his government's policies? 27 years on, why are we asking the exact same thing?"
A little bit more if we carry on.
I know there's a reshuffle coming up on the other side, but this audition for John Prescott's old job is just getting a little bit hackneyed.
To where they were after the disastrous mini-budget. This week, mortgage rates have surpassed those levels. How high do they need to go until he and his government takes it seriously?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Lady knows, people around the world know, that the driver of higher mortgage rates is higher inflation.
Murray Black.
Bank of England predict that mortgage payments will rise by at least £500 for 1 million households. The Prime Minister says that people need to hold their nerve. The Chancellor said just last night that mortgage holders should just shop around. Speaking of his own party, the member for South West Devon said, "If the circus doesn't stop by Christmas, it's over." Does the Deputy Prime Minister understand that people can't afford to wait until Christmas and that they need help right now?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the fundamental thing we have to do is to halve inflation.
Point of order, Dawn Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't know if you're shocked, but I am. The Deputy Prime Minister had an opportunity to correct the record today where he misled the House on the 7th of June. He failed to do so, Mr. Speaker.
As we know, we can't say misled. Inadvertently, obviously, he must have misled.
Okay.
Do it that way.
Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Prime Minister inadvertently misled the House but didn't come to correct the record, even though we've made it clear that he has, in regards to the £28 billion costing mortgage payers £1,000 a year. The only place that appeared was in the Daily Mail. He's disrespecting yourself, Mr. Speaker. He's disrespecting Parliament and the House, and according to the Ministerial Code, he should now resign. Mr. Speaker, can you advise me? He is in breach of the Ministerial Code. How can I ensure that he resigns?
Can I first of all say I thank the Honourable Member for giving notice of a point of order. What I would say, as I said last week, the responsibility lies with the Minister to make any necessary correction to the record. What I would say is I think it is upon government to look at itself. If the Ministerial Code is not being adhered to, I really do think the rules need to be looked at again to ensure that ministers, because don't forget elections change ministers as well, that ministers ought to ensure that this House hear the facts.